All right, guys, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about college textbooks and the access codes that come with them, some of the advice that I have to work around some of the problems with it, because there are a ton of problems. It's honestly a massive scam, and I just wanted to get a little conversation going, maybe help some of you guys out. Maybe you guys can help me out in the comments down below, help other people out by just sharing your advice and different opinions. But there's just a huge problem with textbooks in general, especially as more classes are doing more things online. And now there are the access codes, which are just absolutely ridiculous. I'm a sophomore in college, so I've had a few classes that use these access codes, that use online homework platforms. And basically what it is you're paying to do your homework online. Now, there's a bunch of problems that I have with that. Like, one, we're already paying so much money to be going to school. I don't really understand how it's not filtered into the tuition, why it wouldn't be included in the school's deal with these online platforms to already have this provided for their students, while we're paying an extra $100 per term per class to do even more homework online, when the teacher could just be writing it themselves, getting it out in class. Now, honestly, there's just a lot of things to talk about there, so I'm gonna try to break it down step by step, but we'll get into all the details. The first thing I wanna start with is some research I did, basically. This article reports that 52% of classes are using an ebook and an online homework platform, and even more are just using one or the other. So 52% are using both, and 34% are using just the ebook, 13% just using the online homework. But basically, a majority of classes, well over half, are using some sort of online platform, which means paying for your books. Now, the problem is that with regular textbooks, you can often go buy a used one. Now, even then, they try to cycle them through, so you can't buy the used one because it's outdated or whatever. But Amazon has a lot of really good things where you can rent the textbook and kind of get away with it that way. However, with the online things, you need to buy the online access code. Now, the code usually only works as well for 4 months, so just the term you're in. So you're paying like $100, $130, $200 for an access code for one class that only works for one term. And with the other books, at least you can sell them. You get them for the whole time. You don't just get them for one term. So that's the first issue. It's the fact that you don't even get it permanently. You're not paying for it to own it or whatever. You're just renting an online platform. I don't know why the classes wouldn't factor that in to the price. Obviously, you could just say, well, that would just mean you're going to pay more for the class. But still, you're already paying for the class. Why don't they have a deal in place where they can do this cheaper for everybody? Which then kind of leads me on to wonder, why are the teachers accepting these services? Now, are the teachers accepting the service, or are they forced to do it by the department they're in, which is a school guideline? Now, if the teachers are doing it, it's really just a pretty poor thing to do, because that means you're just putting a much heavier financial burden on your students when every single student is paying, you know, $130. For instance, my accounting class this term, every person had to pay a minimum of $130. Now, there's different packages. You could get the online access code plus a real textbook, and that's like $160. You could pay to get it for like a whole year, which is, I don't know, maybe $230. But basically, the minimum price you're paying for the online homework and the online textbook is $130. Now, in my case, I didn't use the textbook once. I still got an A in the class. I didn't open the textbook once. The only reason why I had to buy it was to do my homework, which is something that I'm literally doing just for the grade, because you need the points. Like for the test, of course, sure, like that's gonna happen anyways, it's in the class. You don't need to use your textbook and could still do good on the test. Now, why would I be required to have the textbook just to do the homework? Which is, again, just another thing that's part of the class. I'm already paying for the class. I don't want the textbook. I did fine in the class without the textbook. I was making sure, you know, I was writing notes from class and whatnot. Why can't I just do the homework maybe on a piece of paper and turn it in? Why do I have to pay $130 per month just to do that for one class? That's accounting. And my other classes that I've had have had similar things like this. You have to buy an online textbook. You have to do this online homework. My girlfriend has the same thing. She has to buy online textbooks, online codes, things like that. And it doesn't make any sense, because we can get a fine grade without it. We don't want the textbook. Why am I having to pay for my homework online? Is it because my teacher is lazy and wants to do online homework platforms that's already pre-written out? She doesn't have to grade it. The grades are automatic because it's just, you know, the system says, did you get it right or wrong? And then boom, her grading is done. Is that why? She's just kind of putting the burden on us. If it's not that way, and the school is forcing her to do it, why is the school even forcing us to do it that way? Especially when some of the platforms, they have like They have their own resources. I've had math classes that is all in-house. It's all on their own servers or whatnot. And you just submit the answers online. You don't have to pay a code. So why aren't we doing the same thing for the accounting classes? Why aren't the teachers writing their own homework for the accounting classes in those same systems? Why are they using these other systems that we have to pay so much for? So there's really only two outcomes. It's that the teacher's lazy, they want the homework to be pre-graded, predetermined, and they don't have to worry about it, which is one terrible option. The other option is that the school is making a deal with these companies, you know, if we get this many kids to sign up, we get this portion of the profits or whatever. That's also another lame thing to do. Just use the resources at hand. Have us turn it in by hand. Have it be on your own website that we don't have to pay $100 for a couple months for. And I guess the third option would be that it's neither of these. The school isn't getting money from the deal. The teacher isn't per se doing it just because they want things to be easier. It's the fact that they just decided to use these systems, which should be an easy change of getting rid of that. Why would we be going in this direction to pay even more money every single term for these things when we don't have to? So if that's the case, it's an easy change. Just get rid of it. We need to stop doing this type of thing. And I wish that obviously I could have any sort of say in that, but one person saying something doesn't have any meaning, but that's just kind of the problem. So as for advice, I would say that you don't always need to buy the extra plan. You don't need to buy the extra textbook, the physical copy. Of course, some people do like physical things. If it helps you, sure, go ahead and do that. For me, I don't even need the textbook at all. I'm not saying I'm super smart. Some classes absolutely do need the textbook. But if you already know what you're doing in some of these classes, there's no reason you should be forced to buy something. So if you're that type of person, like, you don't have to worry about buying the extravagant thing. You won't always need the textbook. As many of you guys have found, if your class offers a physical textbook, sometimes you don't buy it because it's not needed. Even the teacher will say, it's an optional thing. You don't have to go out and buy this textbook. And most of the time you'll do just fine without it. Some people like to buy it because it helps them, and that's one thing to do. But you don't always have to buy it. Just like you don't have to buy the physical ones, don't always pay extra for the ones online to get the extra copy. You just don't always need it. And that same thing goes for the physical copies. If you're, heading to college this year, if you're going to college in a few years, if your teachers always tell you, you have to buy this textbook or the textbook is optional, the truth is, a lot of the time, you don't even need to buy it. I've had plenty of classes where my teachers say the textbook is required. I didn't get the textbook. I kind of waited to see, will I be needing it? Halfway through the term, haven't needed to use the textbook, still have an A in the class, so I don't buy the textbook. End of the term rolls around, I still have an A in the class. I'm doing all my work, and not having the textbook didn't really affect me. So don't always freak out about that. You don't always have to follow every little detail like that. Now, a lot of people, again, they'll benefit from having the textbook, and that's a different type of person. That's totally okay. But just a general thing is you don't always need to buy the textbook, which pisses me off for the reason that we have to buy the textbook for the online ones, and it's not even about the textbook. We just want to buy access to the homework, and the textbook comes with that. We don't even need it. We don't even want it. So that's where I think the main problem lies. It's about needing to buy something just because it's attached to a code so you can do your homework, so that it's automatically graded, so your teacher doesn't even look at it. Your teacher doesn't even write these problems. All of these problems on these websites are pre-written by the company releasing it. Like, you can look up all the answers. Every school has the same system, the same answers. So the teachers aren't even writing it. A lot of the time, the teachers don't even know what's going on with those. I've emailed teachers about problems, and they have no idea which problem it is. They need me to send a screenshot because they don't have access to the same things that they're assigning. It really just doesn't make sense. Another thing that I've noticed that totally sucks with the online homework is that teachers tend to assign a lot more homework for the online classes than the in-person classes. I think that's because they never are going through the work and seeing just how many pages it would take to do all the online problems, because all they see a lot of the time is the answer. You're doing all the work on your own piece of paper, you're submitting the answer, you get it right or you get it wrong or whatever, and they don't see all the work you did to put into that. And also, if they did see all that, that means a lot more to grade. A lot of times teachers will grade the work, so they don't want that load on their plate. They don't want to have to worry about all those pages to grade. So instead of just doing, the, say, 10 problems for homework for Monday night on this one, they're going to be doing 20, 25 for Monday night, and then another 20, 25 on Wednesday, instead of, again, 10 on Wednesday, written in person. It just adds up to a ton of work, and it's really the same amount of work, but it looks like less just because you're kind of cycling right through the answers. It's already graded, right or wrong. You don't need to go in and grade by person because the machine is already just grading it for you. So I think that's another problem. There's just kind of this disconnect for how much work you're actually doing and how long it's going to be taking you versus what they're actually grading themselves, because they don't really need to do any work. But that's just kind of my little rant about the online access codes and textbooks right now. Some of my advice in there as well. If you guys do have opinions or advice, let me know in the comments down below. I'd appreciate it if you drop a like on the video. That'd be great. And subscribe if you're new. Plenty more videos, just things like this and other videos about college and whatnot. Things that could help you guys out and my experiences and other things in my life will be on the channel. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later, and peace.